Dear students, welcome to EPG Patashala. I am Professor G. Vedaparayana, retired from the Department of Philosophy, SV University, Tirupati. And today we are going to take up the paper Indian Religion and Philosophy, and the module that I am going to teach now is the Sankhya System. And the Sankhya System is one of the most important orthodox systems of Indian philosophy, and is also one of the most ancient philosophies, or one of the first the philosophies of Astika systems. And the Sankhya system is known for its clarity and also for its knowledge, epistemology, metaphysics, and also bondage, liberation. And it is recognized as one of the rationalistic systems, even though it is accepting the authority of the Vedas, and it is orthodox in that sense, and it is also atheistic in one way, because it doesn't accept the existence of personal God as the creator of this universe. Therefore, it is atheistic in one sense, and in another sense, it is theistic in the sense that it is the Astika Darshana, which accepts the authority of the Vedas. And the learning objectives of today's lesson is introduction to Sankhya system, and after the introduction we take up metaphysics, and in metaphysics there are three important topics, that is theory of causation, doctrine of Prakriti, concept of Purusa. In metaphysics itself, we have this evolution of the world, how the things evolve, the objects of evolutes rather out of Prakriti, that is Mahat, Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas. And then we take up epistemology, and in epistemology this system accepts only three means of knowledge, that is perception, inference and verbal testimony. It doesn't accept analogy or other kinds of perception, that is Anupalabdhi and Arthapadhi. It doesn't accept. Only three pramanas are valid means of knowledge according to this system. Then another important aspect of this system is the doctrine of bondage and liberation. How the soul gets bound and how the soul gets into suffering, and how it can be liberated. This is another important aspect of Sankhya system. And according to Sankhya system, ignorance is the main cause, and knowledge alone is the source of liberation or freedom from suffering. And this knowledge is nothing but the separation of Purusa from Prakriti. This as we are going to see. So now, as a part of introduction, we have to begin with the founder of this system. Who is the founder of this system? Sage Kapila is the founder of this system. And the works which are the sources of this system is Kapila's Sankhya Sutra is the important source of this system, and then Gaudapada's Sankhya Karika Bhashya, and also prior to this Ishwara Krishna had written Sankhya Karika. And another important source is Vachaspati's Tattva Kaumudi and Vijnana Bhikshus Sankhya Pravachana Bhashya Vritti. These are the important sources of this system. The sources means the books from which we can get this information about the whole system. And then, what is the meaning of Sankhya? We have to know, as we have already inquired into the meaning of each and every system and also the founder of each and every system. Here also we are going to see the exact meaning of Sankhya. Sankhya is a term that has been adopted from another term called Sankhya. Sankhya means in English a number. Why number has been taken into consideration is the term is applied to the philosophy because it aims at the right knowledge of reality. What is the right knowledge of reality? It means the perfect knowledge. Samyak gnana. And as I have already told, another point is it is orthodox and atheistic. So, Sankhya system is a very ancient system, and one of the important sources of this system is Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna. Then, as a part of metaphysics, the first point that we are going to take up is the theory of causation. And this theory of causation is known Satkaryavada, which means the effect originally exists in the material cause prior to its production. It also means that if the effect were not existent in the material cause, then no amount of effort on the part of the agent could bring it into existence. And this theory of Satkaryavada of Sankhya is naturally opposed to the Buddhist and Nyaya theory of causation, which is known as Asatkaryavada or Arambhavada, which says that the effect does not really exist in the cause but begins anew as a new product. So, we have to deal with this topic a little bit more. What is the difference between Satkaryavada and Asatkaryavada? See, if the effect were not existent already in the cause, no amount of effort on anybody, even including God, cannot bring about the effect into existence. So, therefore, it is there already in the cause. This is the argument of the Sankhya against the Nyaya Vaisheshika, which is known as Asatkaryavada, because they say that effect is completely a new product which was not there in the cause, and effect comes out of the cause by destroying the cause. So, this is the difference between Satkaryavada and Asatkaryavada. And Satkaryavada is of two kinds, that is Parinamavada and Vivartavada. What is Parinamavada? Parinamavada is the effect is only a transformation of the cause. Transformation means the cause is being changed into the form of effect. And Vivartavada means it is not the change or transformation of the cause into effect, but the cause appears as the effect. It is only a different appearance of the cause which is known as the effect. For example, if we see a rope, we mistake it for a snake. What is happening here? Rope is appearing as snake, or we are mistaking the rope for snake. So, this is the analogy that the Vivartavadins give to explain the theory of Satkaryavada in terms of Vivartavada. Vivarta means appearance, for the temporary appearance, and also is a mistaken appearance. It is not that the cause is really changing into the effect, but only it is taking a different form because we are not able to see it properly, or the circumstances around are not contributing for the real perception or correct perception of the cause. So, doctrine of Prakriti is an important element in the theory of causation, and Prakriti is the cause of everything that is there in this universe. It is the potential cause, it is also the material cause. As against the Purusa, we are going to see what is Purusa in this metaphysics part itself. It is diametrically opposed. Whereas Purusa is of the nature of consciousness, Prakriti is the nature of unconsciousness. At the same time, it is an active principle. Though unconscious, Prakriti is an unconscious principle. This is what we have to bear in mind. Purusa is of the nature of activity, even though It is not of the nature of consciousness. So, Prakriti is the uncaused cause. What does it mean? Prakriti is uncaused cause means Prakriti is not produced by any other cause. Even it is not the product of God or Purusa. Just as Purusa is independently existent, so also Prakriti is independently existent. So therefore it is called uncaused cause. And next, the first principle of this universe is Pradhana. Pradhana is the product that comes out of Prakriti, the first product. This is called even Mahat. And this is also called unmanifested state of all effects. It is not Vekta, it is not Ekta, it is not yet manifested. What is manifested that we are seeing is only the appearance of Prakriti. Behind this appearance, there is what is known as Avvekta, unmanifest. So, imperceptible thing which is only inferential from its products, and it is the root cause of all objects in the world. So, we have to bear in mind that Prakriti is not what we are seeing through our sense perceptions. Prakriti is there which is imperceptible behind what is appearing, what we are able to see through our senses. So, this is called by various names like Pradhana, Avvekta. And 5 proofs for the existence of Prakriti. See, this is the very peculiar characteristic of Sankhya, that the Sankhya thinkers, they are giving even the proofs for the existence of Prakriti. How can you say that there is Prakriti which is behind the manifest state? So, they give nearly 6 kinds of proofs. The first proof that we can say is there should be a cause of this universe, and anything that is finite cannot be the cause of this Prakriti. There must be a common source composed of 3 gunas from which all worldly things arise. And another proof is all effects arise from the activity of the potent cause. They evolve out of the implicit cause. All effects are limited, and so they cannot be their own causes. The unity of the universe points to a single cause, that is Prakriti. So, let me just explain what I have said just now is, see, if the objects are there, they are finite. And objects cannot be the causes of themselves, because the finite things cannot be said that they are produced by themselves. So, for the existence of the objects that are finite, there must be something that is infinite, and that infinite should be Prakriti. Then Prakriti is composed of 3 gunas. This is another important point or aspect that we have to understand. Prakriti is not devoid of anything, it is empty and all that is only objects. But it has 3 important qualities within it. That is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. To explain these 3 gunas, Sattva means state of equilibrium and lightness. And Rajas means it is a motion and restlessness. And Tamas means inertia or indifferent to things. And then doctrine of Purusa, which is the principle of consciousness as opposed to Prakriti, which is unconsciousness. It is co-eternal to Prakriti, the principle of pure causation, the subject, the knower, which is never known. Neither the brain nor mind, ego nor intellect can be called Prakriti. It is beyond time and space, it is beyond change and reality. So these can be taken as the characteristics of Purusa, pure consciousness, and also it is beyond time, space and independent of every reality, every other reality, including Prakriti. Prakriti is the cause of everything, but it cannot be the cause of Purusa. and 5 arguments for the existence of Purusha. Just as we have seen the 6 arguments for Prakriti, there are 5 arguments to prove that there is Purusha, the principle of consciousness. And the 5 arguments are, one is teleological argument, that the Prakriti evolves to serve the Purusha's end. And the logical argument is that the compound objects comprising the 3 gunas presuppose the existence of Purusha. Then ontological argument is that knowledge necessarily presupposes the existence of the self as the foundation. That is, adhisthana should be there. Then ethical proof that the experience of pleasure, pain and bewilderment presuppose the existence of Purusha. And another is, or the last proof is religious proof that the desire for liberation implies the existence of a person who tries for liberation. So these 5 proofs show that there must be the principle called, Purusha. Arguments that we have seen, very important arguments, that is teleological argument, ontological argument, the religious argument, the moral argument. And let us see now how the world evolves out of Prakriti. What is the mechanism and what is the first product, what is the last product of this Prakriti, which is producing, which is responsible for the evolution of the entire world except Purusha. Purusha is not the product of Prakriti, though every other thing is the product of Prakriti. So the world of objects evolve out of Prakriti. Evolution begins when Prakriti comes into contact with the Purusha. And cooperation between the self and matter is like the cooperation between the blind man and the lame man in order to get out of the forest. Prakriti requires the presence of Purusha in order to be known by someone. Purusha requires the help of Prakriti in order to determine itself from the later. There is a disturbance in the equilibrium of the gunas when there is evolution. See, this is the thing that we have to understand. Though Prakriti is of the nature of activity, this nature of activity is not of its own. It is because of its association with Purusha that there is disturbance in Prakriti, or there is disturbance in the equilibrium of 3 gunas, then the evolution starts. Prakriti by itself cannot produce. It is only when Purusha desires to produce the world of objects, then Prakriti gets into the process of evolution. This is how we have to understand that the unconscious principle Prakriti cannot by itself produce things, even though it is the material cause, it is the potent cause, and it requires the efficient cause. Who is the efficient cause? Purusha is the efficient cause. And as we have given the example, the blind man and the lame man. Who is the blind man here? Prakriti is blind. And lame man is sitting on the blind man, and the man who is sitting with eyes, he is directing, the lame man is walking. And therefore, Prakriti and Purusha, with mutual help, they produce the world of objects. And what is the first product of this evolution? The first product of this evolution is Mahat. This is, in English, it is called the great. And the other products that follow Mahat is the intellect, ego, mind are the products of Mahat. Then 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs, and the 5 subtle elements, and 5 gross elements. So total there are 24 products of evolution from Prakriti, starting from the great. So graphically we can present the process of evolution in this manner. There is first Prakriti, there is then great, that is called Mahat, then there is Buddhi, intellect, then there is ego, Ahankara. These are the two things that come out of Mahat. And from ego we have mind, five sense organs. Five sense organs means with which we achieve knowledge, acquire knowledge, gnana. And then there are five motor organs. What are these motor organs? Motor organs are karmendriyas. Karmendriyas means by which we perform some actions. Then there are subtle elements. These are called tanmatras. Subtle elements and leading to five gross elements. What are the five gross elements? That are Mahabhutas. Pancha Mahabhutas. That is earth, water, fire, air and ether. These are the five great elements which are produced by the subtle elements which are corresponding to them. Then what are the characteristics of this intellect? What are the attributes and the functions of this intellect? Functions of the intellect is to ascertain and decision making, understanding the distinction between the subject and object, and it manifests itself and other objects. Discrimination between Purusa and Prakriti. And it is also responsible for our knowledge of virtue, knowledge, detachment and excellence. So we have so far covered the metaphysics of Sankhya system, starting from the theory of causation, that is Satkaryavada, and afterwards we have seen the nature of Prakriti, one of the important elements in metaphysics, and how we can say that there is Prakriti. We have given 6 arguments for the existence of Prakriti. Then we have seen the Purusa, the nature of the Purusa, and we have given 5 arguments for the existence of Purusa, and then theory of evolution. We have seen how everything comes out of the Pradhana, that is Prakriti, with the help of Purusa, who is the conscious principle. Now we are entering into epistemology of Sankhya system. This epistemology is generally based on the metaphysics of Sankhya, the 2 principles, Purusa and Prakriti, and also the gunas that are there in Prakriti. So first means of valid perception according to Sankhya is, first means of knowledge according to Sankhya is perception. Second is inference. Third is verbal testimony. Only 3 means of knowledge are accepted by this system. So let us see what is perception. Valid knowledge means prama, that is definite knowledge, unerring cognition of the object. It is the direct cognition of an object through its contact with some sense organ, and intellect becomes modified into the shape of the object when we come to know the object. The reflection of the self's consciousness in the intellect, and the intellect takes the form of the object. This is the process of perception. And 2 kinds of perception is there, that is indeterminate perception and determinate perception, that is nirvikalpa and savikalpa. This we have seen in the system of Nyaya also. Indeterminate perception means first stage of perception, and second stage of perception is determinate perception. In indeterminate perception, we have only a vague knowledge about the object. We cannot have a definite knowledge with name, and also the nature of the object cannot be known in the first stage. It is only in the second stage that we know the object is different from other objects, and we know the name of the object, we know the qualities of the object, and we have a very clear and definite knowledge in the determinate stage of perception. And another important characteristics of determinate knowledge is there is a process of analysis, synthesis, interpretation of sense data by the mind. And second means of knowledge is inference. Inference, we can call it in Sanskrit Anumana also. Inference is arriving at the knowledge of that which is not perceived through the knowledge of that which is perceived. Knowledge of the universal relation between the perceived and the not perceived. Knowledge of the universal relation between two things from the repeated observation and concomitance. Inferring the existence of fire which is not perceived from the smoke which is perceived. See, this is the same kind of explanation given by the Nayayikas as regards inference, that is Anumana Pramana. The knowledge here is derived on the basis of what is known to what is not known. What we are not seeing, we are able to know by what we are seeing. The famous example that is there in Indian philosophy, accepted by all systems, that is, by seeing smoke in the hill, we can infer or we can have the knowledge that there should be fire on the hill. Then third important source of knowledge is verbal testimony. What is verbal testimony? It is constituted by the authoritative statements, which is in Sanskrit called aptavachana. Knowledge of the objects which cannot be known by perception and inference is known by verbal testimony. And there are two kinds of verbal testimony, that is testimony of the ordinary trustworthy person, which is called the Laukika verbal testimony, and another is the testimony by Shruti or the Vedic texts, that is Vedas. So verbal testimony is a very important source of knowledge according to Sankhya, and it divides into two kinds of knowledge, that is Laukika verbal testimony and Alaukika verbal testimony. Alaukika means it is a transcendental type of verbal testimony which is given only by the Vedas, because Vedic authority or Vedic scripture or Vedic word is so true that all Indian systems, Astika Darshanas, accept that the word of the Veda should be accepted without any question. And a Laukika verbal testimony, even though it is an aptavachana, it is given by the trustworthy person, we cannot say that that is as valid, as certain as the knowledge or the verbal testimony of the Vedas, because human beings are subject to error. So another important topic that we have to consider in the system of Sankhya is bondage and liberation, because every system in Indian philosophy, and more importantly the Sankhya system, is aimed at or aims at the liberation of the individual, because individual is suffering. The ordinary individual in this world is subjected to full of suffering, dukkha, and they also give three kinds of suffering that we are going to see in the following lecture. So bondage, according to Sankhya, is due to ignorance, which means ignorance of Purusa, or mistaking its reflection in the buddhi for Purusa itself. It arises when Purusa identifies itself with the intellect, the ego, and then the mind. And bondage is also because non-discrimination between the self and the not-self. And there are three kinds of pain or suffering according to Sankhya system. The three kinds of pain are Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, then Adi Daivika. What does it mean? Adhyatmika means the sufferings that arise out of my own or one's own psychophysical organism. And then Adi Bhautika means apart from myself. See, the suffering which comes from other beings like nature or other bees or the demons and all that. And the Adi Daivika also is not of my own making, it is suffering coming from alien elements. So there are the three sources of suffering or pain according to Sankhya system, and liberation means, being free, becoming free from these three kinds of suffering. And then what is liberation? Liberation means complete freedom from bondage and of all suffering. The highest end or the summum bonum of life, that is Parama Purushartha or Apavarga. So knowledge leads to liberation by removing the ignorance of the self, of mistaking itself for the non-self. Realizing of the self as the pure Purusha through discrimination between itself and Prakriti. The state of complete isolation of Purusha from Prakriti is freedom from all kinds of pains. And there are two kinds of liberation according to Sankhya system, that is liberation here and now and liberation after death, that is Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. And what does it mean? Jivan Mukti means one can attain liberation while we are alive, and the other one is Videha Mukti means only when the body is not there, then only you attain full liberation. Why? Body is the source of suffering. As long as body is there, even though you attain liberation during life, because the body is there or the soul is residing in the body, you are subject to suffering. So complete liberation is possible only after death. This is what Videha Mukti says. And also why they call that complete liberation is possible only at the time of Videha Mukti means, even after attaining Jivan Mukta, liberation while you are alive, you have to undergo suffering for the karmas that you have done in the past life. And therefore body is there. You are not dead the moment you are a Jivan Mukta. You are going to live for some more years. Why you are going to live for some more years? Because you have to suffer for the karmas, bad karmas that you had done in your past life. So only after all those karmas are removed, a Jivan Mukta becomes a Videha Mukta. So let us now close the lecture by giving a summary of this school. See, let us say something about the controversies that are surrounding this Sankhya system, particularly the concept of liberation and God. Sankhya believes that both bondage and liberation are only phenomenal and they do not apply to Purusha. And this is atheistic because no God besides Purusha and Prakriti. And this is also orthodox but atheistic. See, these are some of the controversial points that we can see in this system, because if you say liberation is only phenomenal, and if you say that Purusha never gets bound, it is only for the intellect bondage is there, it is not Purusha, then why should you just take into consideration Purusha in order to explain the bondage and liberation? Why can't you explain liberation only within the limits of Prakriti? When liberation is confined to the elements of Prakriti, it is only the intellect or the buddhi that gets bound and then liberated, then there is no need to take Purusha into consideration. So this is one point of controversy that we find in this system. And again, they have accepted, some of the systems have accepted God also as one of the parts. God in the sense as the personal, creator, personal God as the creator. It is also not clear whether the Sankhya system accepts God apart from Purusha. And some people have even given some of the arguments for the existence of God. And some of the Sankhya scholars have given the proofs for the non-existence of God. They do not indulge in the proves for the existence of God, but they sometimes show that there is a need for God. And this system is associated with the another Indian system called yoga system. So these are the united system, just as we have seen. Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they are friendly Samanantara systems. Here also we can say that Sankhya and Yoga are Samanantara systems, or syncretic systems, or allied systems, because Sankhya is a pure theoretical system, whereas Yoga is a practical system. It is by following Yoga that you can attain liberation of the type that we see in Sankhya system. So, but the Yoga system accepts the existence of God or Ishvara. It is only by the grace of Ishvara that a sadhaka attains liberation. And without the grace of the God, apart from Purusa, nobody can attain liberation according to Yoga. And therefore, Sankhya has become theistic system in association with Yoga. Left to itself, independent of Yoga, Sankhya is a Nirishvara system. Nirishvara means where there is no God as the creator, as the sustainer, and as the destroyer, and as who protects all human beings with his grace. And Sankhya doesn't accept this kind of God. It is only in association with Yoga that it becomes the Ishvara system. Nirishvara becomes Ishvaras, or the system that accepts the existence of God. And as I have already said in the beginning, it is an orthodox system because it accepts the authority of Vedas. And whether it is theistic or atheistic, it is a controversial thing. It is only in association with other system we can call it theistic system. Thank you very much.